Could 2025 be the year that the folks in Columbus, Mississippi finally get paid? Residents from Columbus, Mississippi are still waiting for their settlement checks after the largest environmental recovery case in American history. That case was decided over a decade ago, and they still can't get straight answers. And just a quick reminder, if this app does go away this month, you can still follow these stories over on the tube. Just search for my name. But back to the settlement. The whole thing started years ago with a company called Kerr-McGee. This was a company that worked primarily in the energy and the chemical sector, and they had two plants here in Mississippi, near Columbus and near Meridian, respectively, that used dangerous chemicals to do processes like treating wood. But the way they were using and disposing of those chemicals wasn't all above board, and by 2005, they realized that they might be in trouble. Environmental cases were starting to come out, and some cancer clusters were starting to be reported, including one near Columbus. But rather than address the issue and try to fix the problem, they went the cover-up route. They created a small side company called Tronox, and they transferred all of their liabilities to that while keeping all of their high-value assets in the original company. That way, they reasoned if the lawsuits came after them, they'd be going after this side company that didn't have enough money to pay claims, nor did it have enough money to do any cleanup. And if you think that sounds shady, well, it's because it is, and the federal government agreed. Because of all the smaller companies and bankruptcies and shell companies involved, it took a really long time for this case to be negotiated. But by 2014, it had finally been settled, and Tronox, Kerr-McGee were settled with billions of dollars in fines. And the folks that were impacted around Columbus, Mississippi stood to receive a healthy portion of that, millions of dollars that would be split among the residents who were impacted. But if you're following along on the math, that was 11 years ago. Now, the company did pay those fines, but it was put into a trust, and it's just been sitting there. And for over a decade now, the folks of Columbus, Mississippi have been staring at that money sitting just out of their reach with no straight answers as to when they would get a check. Needless to say, tempers are short, patience is thin. Which is completely understandable, and it's really hard not to speculate that somebody somewhere must be making money somehow off this delay. But there is a glimmer of hope for the folks in Columbus. According to the Tronox Tort Trust website, which is a bit of a tongue twister, the claims had to be processed and everything had to be entered by the end of 2024 so that checks could be cut in 2025. Exactly when in 2025, it doesn't say, and folks aren't exactly holding their breath after 11 years of waiting. But it's something. There hasn't been a whole lot of local coverage on this case recently, but hopefully that changes as the payout gets a little bit closer, or we see a little bit more pressure applied if more delays show up. Because just like poisoning our ground and our water was found to be a crime, making our victims wait this long for compensation should be a crime as well.